What is going on, ScalpX Legends? Hopefully you guys are having a phenomenal week, and hopefully you guys are taking advantage of some of the calls that we're putting out. We put a lovely short for you guys just yesterday. Hopefully you guys are in some profits. You know, some of you might be asking, well, is this the area that I need to be closing out completely? Should I be looking at longs? And that's exactly kind of what I want to dive into today. I want to look at the daily first. And one thing that I want to take into consideration is going to be that wave count that we've been discussing. Now, keep in mind, when we are looking at higher time frame data, the data is stronger, right? And so right now, based on this data that we're seeing right now, just from a wave count perspective, and I'm going to go ahead and put a line out there for you so you can see from an L8 wave thesis perspective, we literally just bounced right off of the peak of wave one. Now, so from L8 wave thesis theory, or at least strategy, wave 4 typically should bounce off of wave 1 if it's going to be a sharp correction. And if you can recall, wave 2 was a 0.5. So we've been discussing this for a while, that wave 4 had to be 618 and lower. And that lower is the latter part that we really need to throw caution into the wind. Do I feel like we're out of the woods yet? I'm like 50-50 about that, just to be honest with you guys, because although we did have a good bounce here in this area, one thing that I want to point out to you guys is I'm going to remove the idea here just so we can get a little clearer visual of this. If you guys recall, we've been working with TD9 sequentials, and from a TD9 sequential perspective, we have a 1 that's printing. That tells us on a daily that we have more room to come down to the downside. And then when we put back on that idea, what levels could we possibly be coming to? Well, we have 2785 that sits at a 0.76 fib level. And shoot, it could even come down to 0.88 as a nasty aggressive wick. We've seen those before in crypto and then pull back up. Now, I will add something on here as well too, just for additional confluence, is that when we look at some order blocks, we have similar order blocks in those same levels that we were just talking about, even deep inside of these levels. I think these levels kind of confirm that we're in full on bear market. But these are going to be the levels that we really need to hold on to, right? So in order for this count to adjust, let's just go hypothetically that we tapped into the peak of wave 1, which was a major resistance. We had that support, and then we obviously pushed right past towards wave 3. And now we're inside of wave 4, inside of this area, right? What needs to happen on a daily? So I'm going to go ahead and take the idea off one more time. I've already pre-marked this for us, and I'm going to go ahead and take the heat map off for us. I will dive into that a little bit later inside this video. But as of right now, what I want to look at from a TD9 sequential is I'm going to count 4 candles back. Now, we're at the time of this video, we're getting towards the end of the day. We're going to be approaching into Asia here pretty soon. So let's just count from the next day. So let's say the day's here, and let's count 4 back. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So the close of this candle right over here, which is 3096, the new day essentially needs to close above that to change the setup phase from a TD9 sequential perspective. If that is the case, then yes, then we have a higher probability that we've reached the bottom, and then we're going to be moving up to new highs. I do have those new highs marked out for you as we go down to lower time frames, but that is going to be one of the key levels from a daily perspective. Remember, the better data is on the higher timeframes. The move will happen first on the lower timeframes. And we will get to the lower timeframes here in just a second. But just take note of that. That's something that we need to be paying attention to. But now I will throw back on some of these heat maps for us. And one thing that I'm looking at is seeing that we have a massive cool down in the market. I mean, we've been dumping consistently, right? Let's just go from this area since October 7th inside this area. So as these candles start turning more green, it's essentially letting us know like the market is cooling down. And from a volume dynamics perspective, the way that this code is written is it's going to be matching volume. Does volume match the move? Now, if the move was going to be meaning it was authentic and the move was real, then these candles will be a little bit more yellowish, or at least a brighter green. It looks something like this. But this is really cool in the sense of temperature wise. So from a heat map perspective, we're running into some cool territory, if you will. Now, if I go down to lower time frames, we're going to work our way down. This is the setup that we're working with. We're working with a total pattern here so far. Remember that 3069 level that sits right over here. With that, we are looking for a confirmation that sits right around 3096. So for this setup to be valid, in my professional opinion, would be us reclaiming this area, and then we're going to start targeting these zones. I'm going to take the order blocks off for us just so we have less noise, but I will point out that we do have a fair value gap that sits right inside of this zone. That's number one. So that's a good area for us to head towards to collect liquidity. And if we're going to be moving back down, I think the liquidity would come from this area. Most people that are starting to short this area, obviously they'd be taking out. Doesn't make much sense to me, honestly, but I think coming into these levels right over here would make sense. And it goes hand in hand with wave B right over here. And so for the logic, when we're utilizing harmonic patterns, is wave B is going to be a crucial area. Either we're going to reject that area or we're going to reclaim that area. So we have a fair value gap that sits right inside that zone. We're approaching right underneath a 0.5 fib level when we start measuring out this move. That essentially is measured from the peak of wave A down to the peak of wave D, where that sits in that area. So this is where this fib level is coming from. That's where this internal structure is. This is an internal structure fib zone. So this is giving us an additional layer of the mathematics of where resistance is going to be coming from. And so we're going to be sitting inside of this area. Now, typically what follows an impulse wave is usually you'll find an ABC correction. It's going to go from a 5 impulse wave straight into a wave 1 and wave way up. So that's why I was saying that there's a probability that we do see that gets us into these levels. Maybe we come down a little bit, and then maybe we push right into these levels right over here, 4100s, maybe even 4400s, because inside this area right over here, there is some imbalance. So we could see something like that, and then we come right down, right? That is a probability we could be seeing. So I would be diligent with that. Now, if we do get an ABC correction and then we kind of sideways for a little bit, maybe reclaiming this fair value gap in this area and kind of sideways, then these TPs start to come into the fold for us. And then we start looking at higher targets where we could be potentially going. Now, the TPs, you can see that they're labeled here on our chart, 42.19. I do have an internal structure that sits right around 44.65. So that's an area that I'll be paying attention to. The peak of wave A, which is the peak of the all-time high, we could have a double top in that area. So that's something to be paying attention to. If we break those zones, then the mathematics just start to come into play here, where we start looking at these ratios where the black lines are showing TPs in the hundreds, 7300s, and 8000s. Now those may seem like some numbers or even hopium to some in this current weather, but crypto, crazier things have happened. And so the key levels that we need to be looking at are, number one, just getting into a daily. We do need to reclaim this zone if we're going to even have an opportunity to get back into the 4K handles. Move up that we may see may very well be a bearish retest, because just going right back to that daily, as I was mentioning before, candles are cool. I'll flip down one more time, even down to a lower time frame. These candles are running cool. And I'll even go down to like a 13-minute, because move happens first on a lower time frame. So this is essentially, this is the short that we took. This is what I was mentioning to you guys. Hopefully you guys took profits. And if you look at these candles, you ran pretty cool here inside of these areas. Now we printed a 9 here inside this zone from a sequential count. This is a 13-minute, but our 6 printed higher. So there is going to be some imbalance here inside this area. I do feel like we're going to get a nice little push up inside of the zone, maybe into 3012. And that's going to be sort of the deciding factors for us. As we stretch up a little bit higher, we can see where these fib levels are starting to coincide with the levels that we're looking at, 3069, 3096. So there's some fair value gaps. Just clear this that we do need to be looking into if we're either going to reject or if we're going to be holding on to those. Now, if any of you guys are confused about the setup, any of you guys confused about the strategy, the tools that I'm utilizing, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to assist you guys. We're going to be giving our next class where we have a couple different topics that we're discussing inside of our corner, whether it be fib retracement tools, how to utilize them, where to be using them, L8 wave thesis. So if you want to partake inside that class and you want to make sure that your voice is heard in the sense of what you're learning inside of our community, head over to the poll, make sure that you cast your vote, because it does not fall on deaf ears. I want to make sure that you guys are getting the most vital information to make you guys better traders, instead of just waiting for the next call. What's your stop loss? What's your entry? What's your TP? These are things that you can actually do on your own accord. Now, outside of that, some of you guys may have questions about the indicators and tools that I'm going to be using. There was a post as far as how to gain access to those inside my corner. Make sure that you're trading on Bytunix. Make sure that you're a user inside of ScalpX. and then you're going to have a trial session with the indicator to make sure that it works for you. But other than that, if you guys do have any questions for me about the setups, the patterns that I'm using, always feel free to reach out to me. Have a profitable remainder of your week. Be safe out there. And above all, God bless you. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.